Welcome to the Interesting Football Podcast. My name's Laurie Knox and I'm joined by former call centre operative Simon Day. This week we'll be discussing whether Liverpool are the most interesting team in the English Premier League. Mr. Day, how are you and what are the first things you think about when you hear the name Liverpool?
I'm very good, thank you. Looking forward to Christmas. I suppose, is this our Christmas special?
I suppose it is. Liverpool playing red, so I mean it's all turned out nicely.
Yeah, excellent. My first thoughts when I think of Liverpool are just being at primary and secondary school, and 70-80% of people who liked football supported Liverpool because Liverpool were like the best team of the 80s and start of the 90s. And I think I've always resented Liverpool for that ever since, which isn't Liverpool's fault, but I just don't like them for that reason.
I can confirm that at Halfway Houses County Primary School in the Isle of Sheppey, it was a Liverpool FC hotbed in the 1980s.
Oh, Matt, you should have been at Halden County Primary School. Oh, you couldn't move for red shirts. Yeah, Ian Rush was the most popular person in our school.
Right.
Yeah, and I think I've just always disliked Liverpool for that reason. That they just had a load of glory hunter fans, didn't they? And I don't know if it's the same now in schools. I don't get the vibe that there's primary schools full of Man City fans now.
I think from my secondary school, I don't know about primary school, but where I work now, it is all just the big clubs. I mean, I suppose I'm in London, so there's a bit more of a London bias there. But yeah, you know what? It's probably more spread out than it was at Halfway Houses County Primary School in the 80s.
Well, it will be more spread out because obviously back then, our avenues for watching football were so slim that you wouldn't know much about West Ham or a mid-table Premier League club. He's a mid-table Premier League club, Everton at the moment or whatever. So you wouldn't be exposed to these clubs, would you? So the back pages and highlights and whatever would be Liverpool or it probably was Everton at the time, wasn't it? Whereas now you can see if you really want to watch Watford every week, you could watch plenty of Watford, couldn't you? So you can get exposed to all these clubs now.
This is true. And also think about the 80s as well. One team was dominating. Think about in the 90s. Remember everyone at secondary school, like all of a sudden everyone was a Manchester United fan. One team was dominating. But one thing I suppose has improved in a way is if you look at the last 10, 15 years, one club hasn't dominated. You've had a few clubs winning the top trophies. So, yeah. That's kind of even things out on the fans' basis. But for me, I think back to one of my first memories. I remember Wednesday being absolutely terrible. It was a common theme. This had been 89-90 season, I think it was. Hadn't won all season. Played Liverpool, who are obviously one of the best teams in the world at that point, at Hillsborough. And Wednesday recorded their first win of the season 2-0. What I remember about this is because I had to go to bed early. God, what time? That means I had to go to bed at half time. That means my bedtime at the age of 10 must have been like 8:30. That's pretty poor, isn't it? But anyway.
I was a 9-man by that age. Yeah, I was a 9-man.
You're obviously a mature 10-year-old. But,
yeah, I could stay up for the end of like Casualty or whatever. I was all right on that front.
But my mum, the absolute legend, had, I can still remember it now, Owls 2-0, Liverpool, Hurst 55, Atkinson 90, written a little note and put it just in my inside my bedroom door. So the first thing I saw when I woke up was the Wednesday score. So there we go. Happy memories from that one.
Nice.
Hurst 55, Atkinson 90. I'll never forget those two. But there we go.
Lovely.
Right, Mr. Day, let's hear fact number one about Liverpool.
Fact number one, in a break from the norm, we're going for something quite recent here. Liverpool's 2020 Premier League triumph was both the earliest and the latest that the title had been won.
Okay, I'm trying to work this one out. Okay, earliest games, latest calendar month.
Yeah, date. Right. Yeah. So basically, they won it with 7 games to go, which is pretty whopping, to be fair, isn't it? That's dominance, but it wasn't decided until the 25th of June.
Right. And one thing I did think about that last season, or was it the season before, was that they were obviously so far ahead of everyone else. It was like so obvious they were going to win. And then the season got kind of postponed due to... And obviously Liverpool have gone however many years it was without winning the league, 30 years.
About 30, yeah.
And, they kept getting so close. Obviously the Steven Gerrard slip one, but there were so many times when they should have won it but didn't. And for me, from just just being a horrible person, I think it would have been absolutely hilarious if they'd all but won the league. I know they need like 1 point at home to, I don't know, Fulham, Burnley, etc. And they didn't win the league. Yeah, that would have been.
They just null and voided the whole season. Yeah, I know I'm also a horrible person, and I was hoping that would happen. But I do sort of think them winning the league and being so dominant kind of got a bit lost in the mix, didn't it? Just because of how the season played out in the end. And obviously they won the trophy and played all their games in front of nobody. And it was just seriously weird, wasn't it? I mean, don't get me wrong, it was a seriously weird time in life. But when football came back, it came back in a really weird way, didn't it?
Right.
It was like in front of no fans. And the games were being played consecutively, weren't they? It was like there was no simultaneous games. If you fancied it, you could watch every single Premier League game until the last day of the season.
It felt more like watching American sports, to be honest, because, like you say, they always space them out. Well, they space them out a lot more, don't they, than they do in England. But yeah, so in that respect, it was good. It was good for the armchair fan.
And also it gave us something to do, didn't it? Let's be honest.
There was that. And the lack of atmosphere, though. Although I remember when the new season started, there were loads and loads of goals, weren't there? And that was one theory.
Yes.
Was it just the pressure's off, and was it just a lucky thing? Was it just the pressure's off and players are going for it? I don't know.
And pretty much home advantage just got thrown away, didn't it? There was no such thing for a few months. It was kind of irrelevant who the home team was.
See, this is something that I've always found interesting. Like, what is it about home advantage? Because I can remember playing under 12 football, and even then, the home advantage was a huge thing. And obviously, it wasn't like the crowd sucking the ball into the goal, Steve.
Was the New Road home end worth a 2-goal head start?
Stephen Dave's mum really shouted loudly, just like egged us on. But. And things like, and obviously back in those days, under 12s, you played bottom of the league, you'd beat them 16-0 at home, but you'd only beat them 7-0 away, or likewise. Because I remember under 12 was the youngest age, so we started at, I think, we were 9 years old. So again, you'd play top of the league, you'd lose 16-0 away, and you'd only lose 10-0 at home. Be really happy with that. There
was very few close games. I can remember playing as a kid. I can't remember any last minute winners or anything. Weren't a thing, were they? It was pretty much all games. There was one team clearly better than the other.
Yeah, definitely under 12s. Yeah, the younger years. That's true. That's true. Yeah, it was a draw was a very rare event.
Yeah, you didn't get many thrillers, did you? At that age.
But one of the few draws I can ever remember taking part, a 0-0, believe it or not. This has been
really a 0-0.
This was probably about under 14s when we actually played. At Faversham Town, their youngsters are in our league, and they would play one game a season at the actual Faversham Town stadium. I want to say, let's go for ground. Yes, my highlight for that match. I remember getting the ball basically on our own goal line, running about the length. Well, not about running the length of the pitch, getting all the way up to pretty much their goal line, and then just being so exhausted that my cross just kind of bobbled 3 yards in front of me. But there we go. I'll take that to my grave with me. I dribbled the length of the pitch in Faversham Town's pitch
stadium. Did you watch the games with fake crowd noise or not?
No, I didn't.
No, I didn't. No. I didn't, just because my brain. The way my brain works, I'd know it was fake crowd noise.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And it's I can't be having that. And it's not real, is it? No. I don't want any of that. So, yeah, I did end up, because there was nothing else to do in life, was there, watching a ridiculous amount of football that season.
And I love the fact that BBC took up games.
The rubbish ones.
Who was it? Was it Burnley and Crystal Palace were always in there, weren't they?
Yeah. I remember the first one was Bournemouth versus Crystal Palace, which was just Bournemouth were virtually down and Crystal Palace were mid-table. And yeah, he was there. And they had them right up to the end of the season. So in the final sort of 3 or 4 weeks of the season, they'd have stuff like Wolves versus Burnley, where they're 11th versus 13th with absolutely nothing to play for.
Yeah, and what I loved about that is that BT Sport and Sky had actually paid for these games, but they just didn't want them.
Yeah, go on, Adam. Yeah.
Imagine doing that, paying for the rights to host sports, and I'm not doing that. But anyway,
but clearly, the first time in 30 years that there was actual domestic top flight football on terrestrial TV.
That's right. Yeah, the big match on ITV that used to be.
Yeah, exactly.
I think
That's a bit mad, isn't it?
That before, where it would be really, really random. I can remember one of the few Wednesday matches, about '88, at home to Tottenham, and Wednesday Tottenham were two kind of mid-table, nothing sides, Okay, yeah, it's fair enough. You might want to put a few of those games on if you're Sky, but bear in mind that ITV would probably have, 5 or 6 live games all season. They'd have the rights to, and they would choose some really random things. Derby versus Southampton. Like, what are you doing? Like, I'd be really intrigued to know what the thought process was behind those decisions. I mean, did they not understand advertising and viewer numbers? Like, what? How did they not? Anyway. Right. Okay. Well, interesting fact. I like that one. And let's get on to our quiz. Okay. For the first time ever with the quiz, I actually did a dummy run on myself. Okay. You've got 38 potential answers. After 25 seconds, I got 8. I then spent about 5 or 6 seconds, and then I just hit the wall. I spent 5 or 6 seconds, couldn't get any, and I just quit because I'm a pathetic, spineless piece of. So I'm going to go for par as 8. Okay,
8 out of 38. Right. Okay.
Wait till you hear. It's a kind of a new format. Okay, Liverpool have been in 38 cup finals. Okay, and I'm talking about the 3 European ones, as in European Cup, Cup Winners' Cup, UEFA Cup, and what came after, the FA Cup and the League Cup. So I'm not having any of these Community Shields or the European Community Shield or what it's called. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what I want for you, I don't care about year. I just want you to give me kind of the result, the tournament and the result. So it could be, for example, FA Cup beat Gillingham 2-0. FA Cup lost to Gillingham on penalties.
Right. Okay.
Something along those lines. I'll take. So tournament. Score or penalties, and the team they were playing. Okay. I've just realised that I do not have. Okay, wait a second. Just realised I don't actually have my computer with me. I'm going to have to get Alexa to help me out. Right, Simon Day, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Alexa, time 1 minute. Let's go.
2005 AC Milan European Cup final beat on penalties.
Okay, don't need the year, but yeah, good.
Okay, AC Milan lost 2-1.
Yes, same tournament.
West Ham drew 3-1 on penalties.
Yep.
Everton beat 3-2.
Yep, that's 4.
Everton beat 3-2.
Oh, not 3-2,
3-1.
Yep, that's
3-1. 3-1 was 86 Cup final, wasn't it?
Yes, that's 5 now.
Arsenal beat 2-1.
Oh, well done.
Sunderland beat 2-0.
That's 7. One more for par.
Right, okay. Arsenal lost 2-1 in the League Cup final.
Oh, yes, in the 80s.
Yeah, the 80s with Perry Groves.
Yeah, okay, you're on par.
I'm on par, right, okay. 5-4 beat Alaves.
Oh, 9, well done.
2-0 beat Tottenham in the European Cup final.
Yep. Alexa, stop.
Oh, that's enough, wasn't it? Yeah.
There we go. That's 10. Well done. Good.
Any recent ones I missed?
Yeah, you missed losing to Real Madrid in the European Cup 3-1.
Yeah, with Carrius. Chucked a couple in, didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, surprised. I thought you could have got Roma on penalties in the European Cup.
With Bruce Grobbler shaking his legs.
Yes.
Yes.
And also something I found in this, Liverpool in the early 70s, they won the UEFA Cup twice. They beat Borussia Mönchengladbach and then Club Brugge. Mm-hmm. And then in the late 70s, they won the European Cup twice, beating Borussia Mönchengladbach and Club Brugge. So maybe a team there. Other ones, I mean, back from when we were younger, when Cantona scored the winning goal, Man U beat them in the FA Cup final. You missed out.
Yes. That was the white suit game, wasn't it?
Yes. You missed out them losing to Wimbledon 1-0.
Yeah, that should have got that one. Yeah.
And also, something else I discovered is that they won the League Cup 4 years in a row from 80-81 to 83-84.
Did not know that.
There we go. Right, Mr. Day, you're now 5-4 up. Congratulations on the.
Quite happy with that performance.
On the quiz, yeah, good effort. 10 out, 10. Well done. Okay, fact number 2. Let's see.
Yeah. Right, fact 2 leads on nicely from that, and it is in the 1965 second round of the European Cup, Liverpool beat Cologne thanks to a retaken coin toss. Now, this was a 2-legged game. Both legs finished 0-0. They then randomly played a replay in Rotterdam, as you do. How mental the way football games used to be decided. They drew 2-2, one home, one away. Then they played a third match in Rotterdam for some reason that finished 2-2. This was before the days of penalties. So the game was decided by a coin toss. Now, what happened was the referee went out with the captains and a couple of cameramen into the pitch, into the centre circle, tossed a coin. The Liverpool captain, Ron Yates, called tails. The coin landed, but the pitch was a bit muddy. So it kind of landed at an angle rather than flat. So the Liverpool captain saw that it was probably going to go heads. So he was going to lose. So picked up the coin and said to the ref, that didn't land properly. So we've got to do it again. And the ref agreed. Right? The Cologne captain clearly wasn't happy about this. And they had a retoss and Liverpool won and qualified for the third round of the European Cup.
Did they win what year was this?
They lost in the semi-finals to Milan. This was 1965.
You know, I've heard about coin tosses deciding games before. It is bizarre. I've never heard of a retaken coin toss.
Apparently, when Yeats come off the pitch, he obviously spoke to Bill Shankly, his manager, and his account of the story was he said, Shankly said, well done to him. I don't know what he'd done well. And then asked him, what did you call? And he went, tails. And apparently Shankly shook his head and went, yeah, I'd have gone tails as well. A bit of wisdom in that, isn't there?
Nice.
I mean, clearly coin tossing is quite a niche subject. But I did have a similar controversial moment playing cricket as a teenager when, this was adult cricket, Kent League. Game I was playing in, our captain went out to toss the coin, and when it landed, immediately picked it up and claimed victory and said, right, we'll have a bat. Without giving the opposition captain a chance to look at the coin. And blatantly he was lying and he'd lost and just
really
cheated the coin toss. Which that's pretty low, isn't it?
Really pathetic. It kind of like when you have people say, you get those kind of like hardcore centre backs who he hates losing, and you'd be like, yeah, but he's playing in like the Isle of Sheppey Sunday League, second division or something like that. So that's really pathetic. Then if he's got this, I'll never lose to anyone attitude, and this is the highlight of his. I suppose that's supposed to be fair. So you're paying for Kent.
No, it was in the Kent League.
Oh, in the Kent League.
It was in the Kent League.
But still a decent standard, right? So maybe I'm being a bit too harsh. Maybe it was worth cheating.
It's still pretty low, to be fair, isn't it? Cheating the coin toss.
Yeah.
The only professional example I could find of coin toss controversy was an NFL game in 1998 where they were tossing the coin for overtime, which is quite important because it's less important now, but it used to be. If you won the coin toss for overtime, you'd receive the ball and you've got a much better chance of winning.
Right.
The coin got tossed and the Steelers captain called and lost, and then argued with the referee that the referee had misheard him and he'd actually called heads rather than tails. Even though it was on TV.
But how did you shout that out? Heads. I mean,
no, I said heads. That just sounds like something a primary school child might do, doesn't it?
Reminds me of this woman who... Sorry, go on.
But that led to the NFL bringing in a rule change where the coin toss call had to be made before the coin was tossed.
Seems reasonable.
Yeah.
But
who wrote the book. Sorry.
That reminds me of when I used to work in Starbucks in Whistler Creekside when I had my 6-month ski season there.
Yes.
There's this one lady who used to come in and she was just the archetypal, absolutely just horrible customer. I want to speak to the manager kind of person. And she would always just, you guys are idiots. She would always really insult us. And one of the problems was that she'd come in, they've got grande and venti. And she would always order a Grenti. And and no matter, I forgot she was here last week. What is it she wants? And like you just guess. And you gave me a Grande. I want a Grenti. No, I'm sorry. But anyway, another story about her off air. But right.
Are you former barista then?
Former barista, I prefer the pronunciation barrister. Sorry,
barrister. Former barrister. When I was in my early 20s, I was a barrister for 6 months, and then
I was disappointed because I didn't know how that word was pronounced. And then when they said to me, you're at Starbucks, this is your job title, I thought it was pronounced barrister at first. Then people say, so have you been a barista before? Oh, damn, disappointing. That's disappointing.
Yeah.
But okay, Mr. Day, I like that. Leeds United are our current champions. I think Liverpool are pushing them already. Bizarre fan. This one is probably in second place for me, behind Osama bin Laden. Liverpool's bizarre fan is Dr. Dre. And
okay.
Dr. Dre doesn't sound like he's been to a game, but he's watched them a few times on TV. When he was interviewed in the mid-noughties, and he was asked, why do you support Liverpool? His response was, well, I was touring with NWA in 1988. And I just thought John Barnes was so good. I watched Liverpool on TV. So he's naming players. He's naming historical players. And, they're interviewing him as well. Who's your favourite player right now? I love Michael Owen right now. Jamie Redknapp was...
I think that he does know a bit.
So, I don't think he's ever been to a match live that I saw anyway. But he's a Liverpool fan.
Yeah, I mean, most Liverpool fans in the school playground have never been to a match live. So if they're allowed to be Liverpool fans, and so is Dr. Dre.
Yeah, and I think that's a pretty solid.
Oh no, that is a good one. I mean, presumably you like John Barnes because he's a fellow rapper.
Of course, and in fact, you know what, John Barnes has probably had more UK single chart success than Dr. Dre, I would imagine.
No, that's nonsense.
Dr. Dre's single charts in the UK.
Well, okay, well, he had that period of forgot about Dre, didn't he? And Still Dre, and I reckon he's had a few solo hits. Barnes has never had a solo hit.
Barnes has had World in Motion.
He guest vocaled on it a bit, but
the Anfield rap, of course.
Yes.
I don't have my laptop in front of me. What's Dr. Dre's highest charts? I reckon John Barnes. If you take those songs, I reckon John Barnes beats Dr. Dre and the UK singles chart.
Has Dr. Dre had a UK number one? He's only ever had one album.
Okay.
Number one. Yeah. It's number one. Yeah, it was the soundtrack to the film, the Straight Outta Compton.
Okay, yeah, I can't imagine. I just can't think which Dr. Dre single has done well in the UK chart. Yeah, no,
I'm just looking. So Still Dr. Dre got to 6. Forgot About Dre 7. The Next Episode 3. I Need a Doctor, which I've never heard of, got to number 8. And a song called Bad Intentions got to number 4. But you're quite right. Yeah, he's never been to number 1.
There we go. John Barnes, the more successful rapper.
And also, but I'm I think it's legit. We discovered that Dr. Alban is a real doctor, but Dre isn't, is he?
Sadly not. No, sadly.
No. So he's lost that to Barnes and Alban, hasn't he? Really?
Indeed. Right. Okay. So, Mr. Day, things are looking good for Liverpool at the moment. Let's have fact number 3.
Fact number 3 is a beaut. Former Liverpool goalkeeper Michael Stensgaard joined the club in 1993, but never actually played a game for the club after injuring himself whilst opening his ironing board. He was age 21 and he was signed. This was just after Grobbler left, and he was signed to compete with David James. And he suffered a serious shoulder injury whilst opening his ironing board before he got to play for Liverpool. He needed surgery on it. they sort of cancelled his contract after a year or so of not being fit, and he only ever played about 50 games in his career.
Wow.
It was a recurring injury, and it just happened when he was trying to set up his ironing board.
God, so it was obviously jammed, and he just went for the brute force, which I'm sure we've all done before. Shall I sit down and read the manual? No, let me just try to rip these two things and see what happens.
Well, it was because he was a new signing. It was probably one of those shitty hotel ones, wasn't it?
Possibly. Although, as I've said before, whenever I hear stories that sound a bit too, part of me thinks like, is this really what happened? Or I don't know, was he caught like in some shady acts? I don't know. Some
think of something, and then he spotted the ironing board in the corner of the room.
Some husband came home, found his wife in bed with Michael Stensgaard, went to town on his shoulder, and Stensgaard hobbled out just his underpants, one arm hanging down, and that was it. He needed the story. It was the ironing board. I mean, I'm just going to throw that out there.
I feel like the 90s were the halcyon days of comedy injuries.
There was a salad cream jar, wasn't there?
A salad cream jar.
Who was that?
Can you remember who that was?
Was that?
It was Dave Besant.
Right.
Dave Besant had around that time, he was the comedy goalkeeper of the day, wasn't he?
Right.
He had when he went to Chelsea, he had an absolute mare. And I think it culminated with him dropping some salad cream.
And because if I remember correctly, he dropped it and he said his instincts. This might have been a different play. He said his instincts were to try to control it, and it hit his ankle. It could have been a different play. There was definitely one player I remember being interviewed saying that. You say Dave Besant comedy, but it seems we're talking about Liverpool. Dave Besant is, of course, which I find amazing. In 1988, was the first man ever. Well, John Aldridge was the first person ever to miss a penalty in the FA Cup final.
Yeah, that is a bit bizarre.
And that was, of course, a Besant save,
Yeah, that is a bit bizarre, to be honest.
Even though penalties are obviously a lot more common now, I would never have guessed that it took 120 years of FA Cup or 130 years or whatever it was for a penalty not to be scored.
No, you just think there would be something, wouldn't you? On like a boggy pitch, someone scuffs one or something. But yeah, that is quite bizarre. I will say, without wishing to sound biased, I think Gillingham are the kings of 90s comedy injuries.
Go on.
Because we had two absolute beauts in the same week. In the build-up to a game I think you went to, actually, I certainly did, the League Cup tie at Ipswich in 1997.
I did, yes.
When it was like Gillingham got to the third round of the League Cup, so literally about 5,000 Gillingham fans went to Ipswich on a Tuesday night, didn't they? Because that was as big as it got.
It was huge, wasn't it? Yeah.
But in the build-up to that game, we lost defenders Matt Bryant, who shot himself in the foot. I think he was out hunting rather than like a drive-by or anything. But he, apparently he had the gun by his side and didn't put the cat. I don't know what you do with guns, but
cheddar Bob move.
There was a safety error basically, and he shot himself in the foot. And then his replacement was going to be Glenn Thomas, who ran into a tree and almost took his eye out.
Wow. So talk about driving into things. We had Thomas Brolin driving into an elk, didn't we?
Yes.
Or was it a moose? Or I can't remember now.
Well, an elk and a bird on separate occasions.
Oh, that was it. That was
cursed.
I'm trying to think. Wednesday, any bizarre injuries? Not I can think of. What else have we had then, apart from salad cream jars? I mean, Paul Gascoigne surely's had one or two.
Well, David Beckham got injured, didn't he, when Alex Ferguson kicked a boot across the room, innit?
That's right. And then he made this really obvious plaster on his forehead, didn't he? Just to kind of really prove a point, right?
Yeah. Apparently, ex-Manchester United goalkeeper Alex Stepney, so clearly we're going back before the 90s here, he dislocated his shoulder during a game, shouting.
Wow.
That's pretty intense shouting, isn't it?
Pretty intense shouting. Not as intense as but Troutman, the Manchester City goalkeeper.
I mean, look. Yeah, this is the whole Bert Troutman thing. I'm not sure how much I buy it, to be honest.
Go on.
He broke his neck playing in the FA Cup final.
I mean, there are neck breaks and there are neck breaks. like the Mike Tyson, the Mike Tyson interview when he was being interviewed after losing. He said he had problems in the camp. What's the problem, Mike? I broke my back. And then like, well, what do you mean you broke your back? You know, you mean you've got a vertebrae broken? What do you mean? I broke my back. And then he's like, no, what do you mean, Mike? What kind of break was it? Spinal.
Yeah, they're the worst kind of back breaks, aren't they? The spinal ones.
So yeah, Bert Trout. Yeah, I need to do my research on Bert. Is it Troutman? I've forgotten.
Bert Troutman, because he carried on playing, didn't he?
Right.
In the game. Now, yeah, I'm sorry.
So I mean, obviously,
unless he was like literally
neck break, but
unless he was like literally lying on the floor, unable to move, and the game just went on around him because there were men back then, weren't they? Yeah, I'm not. It was a pretty minor neck break, which I'm not belittling, but well, I'm a bit. But yeah, I'm not.
There was
buying
a bone in the neck area that just happened to be broken. Yeah,
but
broken neck sounds better. Yeah,
but it sounds like you're not buying the Stensgaard ironing.
I mean, like I say, anything that's I mean, you know, is it Occam's razor, right? You know, Occam's razor isn't relevant here. Ignore that anyway. But it's if a story sounds unbelievable, there's usually a reason why it's unbelievable. And how do you injure yourself opening an ironing board? I mean, I'm trying to think.
Shoulder. This was
shoulder injury. I mean, yeah, like I say, the only thing I was thinking, if you're trying to rip things apart by brute force, but yeah, I'm not sure, but yeah, it's a good fact.
Occam's razor is another great name for a comedy football injury, to be honest. But it sounds like this Stensgaard character was actually meant for big things. He was meant to be competing with David James for the number 1 jersey at Liverpool. He was only 21. Big things were expected, and after the ironing incident, he was never the same man.
Poor Michael.
And he now works in sort of it's something to do with footballer mental health, basically, to help footballers overcome adversity, because that must be a pretty serious head fuck, mustn't it? When your whole career in the bin, basically, because of an ironing incident.
Well, the big one in terms of big careers in the bin. Who was the guy who went to? Was it Milan for 20 million or what have you in the early 90s? It was like this ridiculous, broke the record. So he's like 19, 20 years old, and then he was in a car crash in the first 6 months.
Was that Lentini?
Was it Lentini?
It was a world record, wasn't it? Transfer fee. Yes, I think it was Lentini. Yeah. He literally played like 15 games for Milan, and then that was game over then, wasn't it? I think.
Indeed. In fact, the guy who I had as a pound for pound number 1 boxer in the world, Errol Spence Jr. He was in a Ferrari crash a couple of years ago, and he's never looked the same either. So, what can I say? Just save the fast cars till the end of the career.
Would he still be your pound for pound number 1?
Not now. Since he came back, it hasn't looked quite as good, but there we go.
Who would you go for now?
Who would I go for pound? I haven't thought about that. I think it's a boring answer. I think you have to go with Canelo though, because I mean, what he's done. I mean, the fact that he goes up and down the weights is pretty impressive. Even though he was a weight bully at welterweight. But anyway, yeah, I think we have to go with Canelo really.
Okay, I'll buy that. I mean, the only other 2 names I'll throw in the hat there will be Usyk and Inoue.
Yeah, those are good shouts. I mean, Tyson Fury as well. It's not his fault. He's a big guy, but I think he's probably somebody with a shout. But
my only argument against Tyson Fury is, in the last 3 years, he's only beaten 1 person.
There is that. Yes.
I mean, especially he's really good at beating Deontay Wilder. That's all we know about Tyson Fury from the last few years.
It's like that with the Sports Personality of the Year thingamajig. They had, Tyson Fury's in it. As a big boxing fan, part of me supports him, but you think if you've only fought once in the last year, you can't. I mean,
what I found amusing was before the shortlist got announced on the list of betting for Sports Personality of the Year, obviously Raducanu won by a country mile, didn't she? But if you went down the list of betting, at about 33 or 40 to 1 with Anthony Joshua. Now, Anthony Joshua fought once this year and lost. I mean, it's not a brilliant year for him, is it, to be honest?
I suppose technically it's Sports Personality of the Year, which again is quite a rubbish name, isn't it? Like, who's got the best personality? I mean, it's probably going to be the Ronnie O'Sullivan, or I don't know. It's going to be
Tyson Fury's not a bad shout, to be honest, on that front.
But yeah. Oh well. So, Mr. Day, what do we think about Liverpool when it comes to being the most interesting? Because to be fair, this is probably my three favourite selection of facts.
I think the section of facts is good, but I'm not having them beating Leicester City.
Leeds are winning, aren't they?
No, Leicester won.
Didn't Leeds beat them? Oh God.
No,
Leicester beat Leeds.
Yes, this is correct. No, I think Leicester beat Crystal Palace.
Oh God, I'm way behind in this.
Leeds, I think we discounted Leeds, to be honest.
Okay,
Leicester are definitely the winners because, just them winning the league,
right?
I think was enough. But yeah, Leicester are definitely the lineal champions.
I'm having a Chris Kamara moment right now, aren't I?
Yeah.
I don't know, Jeff.
Yeah. But I kind of think we'll keep this bit in. That's good. I don't think Liverpool beat them.
Why not?
Well, they haven't done anything as interesting as winning the league at 500-1.
Oh, come on. A retaken coin toss.
A retaken coin toss is good, but I just find Leicester City more interesting. And I think Engelbert Humperdinck's more interesting than Dr. Dre, if I'm being honest.
Come on, no. Engelbert Humperdinck spent his formative years in Leicester. No, Dr. Dre, talk about a rapper from South Central LA. I mean, that in terms of bizarre fan, which is what it's titled, I think Dr. Dre wins that surely.
And we had also the Leicester City one last week led to an excellent off-air discussion that we had about the 1878 FA Cup final.
This is true, but I mean, we've got to stick with what's on there. What was our third Liverpool fact again? We have the league win, the coin toss, and
Michael Stensgaard's ironing accident.
Yeah, for me, Liverpool win this, and I think if we're split now, I think the only fair way to do this
is a coin toss.
A coin toss, yeah. Do you have a coin near you?
No, but I've got something I could toss.
I was going to say, what I could do is take my pen lid in my hand, and you've got to go left or right. How about that?
Fine, yeah.
Okay, wait a second. Okay, the pen lid's in the hand. You're just going to have to take my word for this. This is not like the Kent Cricket League. Okay, left or right?
Left.
You are correct, Mr. Day.
Yeah,
so,
Leicester City.
Unlucky Liverpool, you may have cheated your way to a coin toss win in the European Cup, but you are not the most interesting football club in the English Premier League.
Thank God. Because I was a bit disappointed last week with the Leicester City one because we did have a fantastic conversation about the 1878 FA Cup final off air, didn't we?
We did. Yeah.
Where we established that two of the goals in that game were officially recorded as disputed because there was a scrimmage in the penalty area.
I'd love to know is it a proper hardcore scrimmage? Are there like hands on shoulders pushing?
And the ref just didn't have a clue how the ball ended up in the goal. But equally, he didn't think there was a foul at any point.
No, yeah.
But more interestingly than that game, the referee was called I've forgotten his first. Was it Sergei?
Seagar Bastard.
Seagar Bastard, and we established that for absolutely no apparent reason. I know that Seagar Bastard had one England cap.
Yeah, no, that was the impressive thing. The fact that you said, he played for England at one point, but it turned out he's actually a one-cap wonder in 1880, which is pretty impressive that a one-cap wonder from 1880. But
so just 3 years after refereeing the FA Cup final, he got an England cap. I mean, there's hope for Anthony Taylor yet, isn't there?
Indeed. So,
anyway.
So Leicester City are the most interesting team in a disputed victory with a pen lid / coin toss.
Not coin toss.
Coin toss, yeah, go spoonerism there. The famous spoonerism on ITN News. Trevor McDonald talking about the Kent countryside.
Brilliant.
It's on YouTube. Check it out.
Oh, is it?
It is, yes.
My favourite footballer spoonerism is former Crew Alexander midfielder Kenny Lunt.
Nice. Okay, right. So next week it's going to be Manchester City. So, Mr. Day, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Likewise.
I'll speak to you next time. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.